The phone rang at 4:47 in the morning. I was already awake. I'd been awake since 3:15. My hands deep in sourdough starter, the kitchen thick with the smell of flour and fermentation. Outside my tiny apartment window, Chicago was still dark, the streets empty except for the occasional taxi cutting through the November cold. I almost didn't answer. My hands were covered in dough, and I had 6 loaves that needed shaping before the sun came up. But it was my mother's ringtone, the one I never changed, even after everything. Some habits die harder than others. I wiped my hands on my apron and swiped to answer. Abigail. Not hello. Not good morning, sweetheart. Just my name. Flat and businesslike, like she was calling to confirm a dentist appointment. Hi, Mom. I wedged the phone between my shoulder and ear, already reaching back for the dough. Everything okay? I need to talk to you about Thanksgiving. My stomach dropped. It was October 28th. Thanksgiving was 4 weeks away, and in our family, that meant my mother had been planning the menu since Labor Day. The Carrington family. Thanksgiving was a production crystal stemware, cloth napkins with hand-embroidered turkeys, a centerpiece my mother spent 3 days arranging, and me, for the past 8 years, providing dessert. Not just any dessert. The dessert. 3 pies, pumpkin, pecan, and apple, plus a cranberry tart that had become legendary among my mother's bridge club. I made them from scratch, even rendered my own lard for the crusts. It took me 2 full days of prep. What about it? I asked, though something in her tone had already told me this wasn't about whether I was bringing whipped cream or ice cream. Your sister's fiancé is going to be joining us this year. Meredith. Of course. My little sister, though, at 32, she bristled when anyone called her that, had gotten engaged 3 months ago to a man named Philip Westwood. I'd never met him. I'd seen pictures. Tall, angular, silver at the temples despite being only 36. Old money. The kind that doesn't shout but whispers through generations. The kind that made my mother speak in hushed, reverent tones. That's great, I said, meaning it. I'm happy for her. Yes, well, my mother paused. And in that pause, I heard everything. Philip comes from a very particular background, Abigail. Very refined. His family has certain expectations. I stopped kneading. The dough sat in my hands, warm and alive. Okay, I said slowly, and your sister is nervous. This is the first holiday Philip will be spending with our family, and she wants everything to be perfect. You understand? Sure, I'll make sure the pies look nice. I was thinking about trying a lattice crust on the apple. That's actually what I wanted to discuss. My mother's voice took on that careful, measured quality I knew too well. The voice she used when she was about to say something cruel but wanted it to sound reasonable. Given the circumstances, I think it might be best if you didn't attend this year. The kitchen went very quiet. Even the radiator seemed to stop its usual clanking. I'm sorry, what? It's not personal, Abigail. It's just that, well, you work in a very particular industry. And you know how you get after a long day at the bakery. The smell of yeast and flour just clings to you. It's quite strong. My heart was pounding now. A dull roar in my ears. I shower, I said quietly. I wash my clothes. I don't show up covered in flour, Mom. I know you do your best, sweetheart. But it's not just about what you can smell. It's about the impression. Philip's family is very aware of presentation. And honestly, after spending all day baking, you always look so tired. Those dark circles under your eyes. Your hands. She said it like my hands were something shameful, something obscene. I looked down at them. They were strong hands, capable hands, scarred from oven racks and split from winter air and cold water. Hands that had kneaded tens of thousands of loaves. Hands that had built something from nothing. You want me to skip Thanksgiving? I said. Because I smell like bread. Don't be dramatic. I'm asking you to be considerate of your sister on what might be the most important holiday of her life. Is that really so much to ask? Something in me cracked. Not broke, I'd been breaking for years. Little hairline fractures that I'd learned to live with. This was different. This was the sound of something finally splitting clean through. Does Meredith know you're calling me? Your sister agrees that it's for the best. Of course she did. And the pies? I heard myself ask. Who's making the pies? I thought I'd order something from that nice bakery in Kenilworth. The one that did the desserts for the Mitchell's anniversary party. The one that charged $200 per pie. The one I'd trained at, actually, before I'd scraped together enough for my own place. The one whose owner had stolen my sourdough recipe and put it on their menu without credit. Right, I said. Makes sense. I knew you'd understand. You've always been so practical, Abigail. It's one of your better qualities. One of my better qualities. Not kindness. Not talent. Not the fact that I'd been bailing this family out for the better part of a decade. Practicality. The ability to be reasonable when I was being pushed aside. Is that all? I asked. Well, I did want to mention, if you're not doing anything that day, perhaps you could help out at that shelter you volunteered at last year. I think it's wonderful that you're so committed to charity work. Very admirable. Charity work. She made it sound like a hobby, like I'd shown up once, ladled some soup, and felt good about myself. I'd been volunteering at Steedy Catherine's kitchen every Sunday for 3 years. The director knew my birthday. I knew the names of the regulars, knew who liked extra pepper in their stew and who couldn't eat onions. Maybe, I said. Wonderful. I'll let you go. I know you have an early start. Take care of yourself, sweetheart. You really should consider cutting back your hours. You're starting to look haggard. She hung up. I stood there in my kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to dead air. The dough in my other hand had gone warm and slack from my body heat. Overworked. I'd have to start over. The sun was beginning to rise, throwing weak November light across the concrete buildings. My apartment was small, just the main room that served as bedroom and living space, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, and this kitchen. This kingdom I'd built. 600 square feet of independence, of safety, of mine. The bakery was mine too. Abigail's. I'd named it after myself because I couldn't afford anything clever. Just my name, in simple letters on the window. It had taken me 3 years to save the down payment on the commercial space. 3 years of working doubles at other people's bakeries, living on rice and beans, sleeping on an air mattress in a studio with no heat. My parents hadn't come to the opening. My mother had said she was busy with garden club. My father hadn't even bothered with an excuse, just a text that said "Congrats kiddo" with a thumbs up emoji. Meredith had shown up 20 minutes before closing, stayed for 5 minutes, bought nothing, and spent the entire time on her phone. Later she'd posted a photo on Instagram with the caption, "So proud of my entrepreneurial sis." She'd gotten 400 likes. I threw the over-kneaded dough in the trash and started again. The bakery opened at 7. By 6:45, there was already a line. This still surprised me, even after 2 years. People waiting in the cold November morning for my bread, for the cranberry walnut loaves and the chocolate babka and the cinnamon rolls that I made every Saturday, even though they took 4 hours and barely turned a profit. Luis was already there when I arrived, prepping the coffee station. He was 19, saving for community college, and made terrible jokes that somehow always landed. "Boss lady," he said, grinning. "You look like hell." "Thank you, Luis." That's exactly what every woman wants to hear at 6 in the morning. Rough night? Rough phone call. He didn't press. That was the thing about Luis. He knew when to joke and when to leave it alone. I'd hired him 8 months ago when he'd walked in asking if we had any day-old bread. He'd been hungry, obviously, trying to make it look casual. I'd given him a loaf and a job application. Now he was training to be a baker himself. And he was good. Really good. Better than I'd been at 19. The morning rush was steady. Lawyers and nurses and construction workers and artists. People who wanted something real for breakfast. Something made by human hands. I knew most of them by name now. Knew their orders. Knew that Margaret from the bookstore next door always bought 2 everything bagels, one for now and one for lunch. Knew that Daniel, who drove a cement truck, had a daughter with a wheat allergy and always asked what was safe for her. This was my family now. These strangers who trusted me with their morning rituals. Around 10, during the lull between breakfast and lunch, my sister called. I almost didn't answer, but Luis was watching, and I didn't want him to see me being a coward. "Hey, Mare, Abby. She sounded bright, cheerful, like nothing had happened, like our mother hadn't just uninvited me to Thanksgiving. I'm so glad I caught you. Are you busy? I looked around the bakery, flour on every surface. 3 more hours of baking ahead of me. Louise restocking the pastry case, a little. What's up? I need a huge favor. Of course she did. I'm having an engagement party. Well, Philip's mother is hosting it, technically, at their house in Lake Forest. And I know this is incredibly last minute, but I was hoping you could do some baking for it. Nothing too complicated. Just maybe 50 or 60 pastries. Those little cream puff things you do would be perfect. Very elegant. I closed my eyes. 50 cream puffs. Tissue, pastry cream, assembly. 8 hours minimum, not counting shopping for ingredients. When is it? This Saturday. 4 days away. Mayor, I can't. I'm fully booked this weekend. I have 2 wedding orders and please, Abby, I'm begging you. Philip's mother specifically requested homemade desserts, and I told her you were amazing. I talked you up so much. I can't back out now. Why don't you hire a caterer? Because I already told her my sister owns a bakery. It'll look so bad if I show up with store-bought stuff now. Please. For me. For me. Always for me. For Meredith, who'd never once shown up when I needed her, who'd borrowed my car 3 years ago and returned it with an empty tank and a dent she never apologized for, who'd asked me to make her birthday cake every year and never once offered to pay because we're family. Abby, you wouldn't charge family. I don't think I can. I said. Drop your city in the comments, let's see how far this story travels. Are you serious right now? Her voice shifted, losing the sugar-sweet tone. After everything Mom and Dad have done for you? My hand tightened on the phone. What have they done for me exactly? Oh, don't start. You know they helped you with the bakery. They gave me a $500 loan that I paid back in 2 months. With interest. They're always bragging about you. They tell everyone their daughter owns her own business. They didn't come to my opening. They visited exactly twice in 2 years. And this morning, Mom uninvited me to Thanksgiving because I smell like bread. Silence. She told you about that, Meredith said finally. Yeah, she told me. Look, it's not personal. Philip's really particular about things. He's used to a certain environment. And you have to admit, after working all day, you do kind of smell like my job. Yes, I'm aware. Don't be like that. I'm getting married, Abby. This is the biggest moment of my life. Can't you just be happy for me? Can't you just help me this one time? This one time. Like it was the first. Like it hadn't been 1,000 times. 1,000 favors. 1,000 ways I'd bent and twisted and made myself smaller so Meredith could shine. When we were kids, I'd been the smart one. The responsible one. The one who helped with homework and packed lunches and walked her to school when Mom was too hungover from Bridge Club wine. I'd been the one who worked 2 jobs to help with bills when Dad's business went under. The one who'd loaned them money more than once when they couldn't make mortgage. And Meredith had been the pretty one. The charming one. The one who made Mom and Dad laugh at dinner. Who knew how to twist conversations to her advantage. Who somehow always came out clean while I was left holding the mess. I can't do it. I said. I'm sorry. You're unbelievable. You're actually going to ruin my engagement party because you're jealous. I'm not jealous. I'm busy. Whatever. Don't bother coming to the wedding. I don't want someone there who can't even be supportive. She hung up. Louise was pretending very hard to organize the napkin holders. You okay, boss? I wasn't, but I nodded anyway, and went back to work. Saturday came. I didn't make cream puffs. Instead, I worked the wedding orders: a 3-tier lemon elderflower cake and 2 dozen lavender shortbread cookies. The couple who'd ordered them were in their 60s, getting married for the 2nd time after both losing spouses to cancer. They'd come in together to do the tasting, holding hands the whole time, and when they tried the lemon cake, the woman had actually cried. This tastes like joy, she'd said. That's what kept me going. Not the money, though God knows I needed it. Not the Instagram posts or the occasional local press. Moments like that. The knowledge that I could make something that mattered. I delivered the cake at 2 in the afternoon to a small community center on the south side. The couple hugged me. like I'd given them something sacred. My phone had 17 missed calls from Meredith. I didn't listen to the voicemails. That night, alone in my apartment, I let myself cry. Not the pretty, delicate crying from movies. The ugly kind. The kind that comes from your gut. The kind that leaves you raw and aching and exhausted. I cried for the little girl I'd been, who'd tried so hard to be good enough. Who'd thought that if she just worked hard enough, achieved enough, proved herself enough, her parents would finally see her. I cried for the woman I was now, 33 years old and still waiting for that recognition. Still hoping that maybe this time, maybe this achievement, maybe this success would be the one that made them proud. And then I stopped crying. I made myself tea. I sat at my tiny kitchen table, and I made a decision. Thanksgiving morning, I woke up at my usual time and made myself breakfast. Real breakfast, eggs from the farmer's market. Good bread toasted with butter, coffee in my favorite mug. I ate slowly, looking out at the city waking up, then I got dressed. Not in the nice outfit I'd bought specifically for Thanksgiving at my parents' house, the one that had cost too much but hid my work rough hands and made me look successful instead of tired. I wore jeans and my softest sweater, the gray one with paint stains from when I'd repainted the bakery. At T8, I drove to Steedy. Catherine's. The shelter was already busy. Families lined up outside, stamping their feet against the cold. Inside, volunteers rushed around the kitchen, prepping food for 300 people. I found Sister Margaret, not actually a nun, just everyone called her that, elbow deep in mashed potatoes, Abigail. She looked up, surprised. I thought you'd be with family today. Change of plans, I said. Put me to work. She didn't ask questions, just handed me an apron. I spent the next 6 hours cooking. Real cooking. The kind that feeds souls, not just stomachs. Turkey and stuffing and green beans and rolls. The kitchen was chaos, too many people in too small a space, everyone getting in each other's way. Someone burning the gravy and someone else dropping a pan of cornbread. It was perfect. At T2, we opened the doors. People flooded in, families and single men and women with children and elderly folks who had no one else. We served them cafeteria style, and I stood behind the mashed potatoes, scooping generous portions onto every plate. An old man stopped in front of me. He had kind eyes and hands that shook slightly. "You're the baker," he said. "You make those cinnamon rolls on Sundays." I was shocked that he recognized me. "I am. Best thing I eat all week." "You've got a gift, young lady." Something in my chest loosened. "Thank you." "No," he said seriously. "Thank you." At 4:30, my phone rang. My father, this time. I stepped outside to answer it. Into the cold November afternoon. "Hey, Dad." "Abigail." He sounded uncomfortable. My father always sounded uncomfortable talking to me, like he wasn't quite sure what to say to this daughter who'd turned out so different from what they'd expected. "Your mother wanted me to call, okay? She's upset. Meredith's upset. This thing with Thanksgiving, it's causing a lot of tension." "I didn't cause anything. I just respected Mom's wishes. Don't be difficult." "You know what I mean, difficult." I'd heard that word my whole life. Difficult, dramatic, sensitive. All the words they used when I had feelings about being treated like garbage. "What do you want me to do, Dad?" "Come to dinner. Bring some dessert. Act like everything's fine." That's what adults do, Abby. They compromise. Compromise. That meant me giving up everything while everyone else gave up nothing. "I'm not coming," I said. "Your mother made turkey." "Good for her." "Abigail, do you know what I'm doing right now, Dad?" "I'm at STT, Catherine's. I'm serving Thanksgiving dinner to 300 people who don't have anywhere else to go. People who said thank you. Who told me I have a gift." "When was the last time you said that to me?" Silence. "When was the last time you came to my bakery? When was the last time you asked how I was doing? Really doing? Not just how's business? When was the last time you stood up for me when Mom said something cruel?" "Your mother isn't cruel. She uninvited me to Thanksgiving because I smell like bread. Bread that I bake to keep my business running. The business you guys tell everyone about but never actually support. We gave you money, $500. 3 years ago. I've loaned you more than that since then." I could hear him breathing on the other end. Heavy breaths. My father was 62 years old, And I suddenly realized I'd spent my entire life trying to earn the approval of a man who'd never really seen me at all. I have to go, I said. There are people here who need me, Abigail. Don't I hung up, back inside. Sister Margaret found me in the kitchen. You okay, honey? I think so, I said. And I meant it. The shelter closed at 7. We spent another hour cleaning up, washing industrial-sized pots, wiping down tables. My feet ached. My back ached. I smelled like turkey and dish soap and sweat. I felt lighter than I had in years. Outside, saying goodbye to the other volunteers, a man approached me. Mid-40s, well-dressed in a wool coat. Slightly out of place in this neighborhood. Excuse me, he said. I'm sorry to bother you. But are you Abigail? From Abigail's Bakery? I tensed, wondering if this was some friend of my parents, about to give me a lecture about family duty. I am. He smiled. I thought I recognized you. My name is David Chen. I'm a food writer for Chicago Quarterly. I've been trying to track you down for weeks. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been so busy, no. I should apologize for ambushing you. I've been to your bakery 6 times in the past month. I'm working on a piece about new food culture in Chicago, and your bread is exceptional. Really exceptional. I wanted to interview you. Oh, I said again stupidly. Thank you. Are you here volunteering? Every Sunday. And holidays when I can. He looked at me with something like respect. That's beautiful. Would you be open to including that in the article? I think people would love to know the person behind the bread. Sure. Yeah, that would be great. We exchanged information. He promised to call next week. Then he left, and I stood there in the parking lot alone with my disbelief. My phone buzzed. Meredith, everyone's asking where you are. You're embarrassing us. I blocked her number. Then I blocked my mother's, then my father's. I sat in my car for a long time, watching my breath fog the windows. And I didn't feel sad. I felt free. The article ran 2 weeks before Christmas. It was 6 pages, 6 full pages in Chicago Quarterly, a magazine my mother had subscriptions to that she kept fanned out on the coffee table for guests to see. The cover photo was of my hands shaping a boule, flour dusting my forearms. The early morning light streaming through the bakery window. The headline, "The Baker Who Needs Community. How One Woman's Bread is Feeding More Than Just Bodies." David Chen had done exactly what he'd promised. He'd written about the bread, the long fermentation times, the local grain I sourced from a farm in Indiana, the way each loaf had character and variation because it was made by hand. But he'd also written about Steedy Catherine's, about my years of volunteering, about the philosophy behind my work. There was a quote, near the end, that I'd said without thinking much about it at the time. I think bread is the most honest food there is. You can't fake it. You can't rush it. It requires patience and attention and presence. It's about nourishing people, body and soul. That's what food should do. It should be an act of love. The article went viral. Not internet viral, but food world viral. People started showing up from other neighborhoods, other suburbs, even other states. Food bloggers, chefs, people who'd drive an hour for good bread. The line outside my shop started forming at 6 instead of 6:45. Luis had to cut back his college hours to work more shifts. I hired 2 more people, Sandra, a retired pastry chef who'd gotten bored of retirement, and Marcus, a culinary school dropout who understood bread the way some people understand music. My phone rang constantly. Interview requests, catering opportunities, a producer from a Food Network show that featured small businesses. I said yes to some things, no to others. The money was good, finally good enough that I could pay myself a real salary instead of just scraping by. Good enough that I could start thinking about expansion. Maybe a second location, maybe wholesale accounts with restaurants. My parents' friends started coming in. That was the strangest part. Women I'd known my whole life. Women who'd watched me grow up at the country club pool. Women who'd barely acknowledged me at the Thanksgiving parties I used to attend. They'd come in wearing their tennis whites or their yoga pants, and they'd gush about the article, about how impressed they were, about how they'd always known I'd do well. Mrs. Mitchell, who'd hosted the anniversary party where my mother had planned to order $200 pies, came in on a Tuesday morning, Abigail. Look at you. I told your mother you were destined for greatness. I smiled politely. Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell. What can I get you? Oh, I'm here to place an order actually. We're having a holiday party, and I simply must have your desserts. Everyone's been talking about them. I thought about the years I'd catered her events for free, at my mother's insistence. It's good exposure, Abigail. Mrs. Mitchell knows everyone. I'd love to help, I said. My catering minimum for holiday parties is $500. She blinked. That's quite steep. It's actually below my usual rate. But for you, I can make an exception. I said it with a smile. She paid the deposit. My family didn't call. I'd blocked their numbers, but I expected emails, letters, something. The silence was profound. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was better off. Most days I believed it. Christmas came. I spent it at St. Catherine's again, and then went home to my apartment, where I'd strung cheap dollar store lights and bought myself a small tree. I made myself hot chocolate and watched old movies and didn't let myself feel lonely. It was fine. It was more than fine. It was peaceful. The Sunday after Christmas, a man walked into the bakery. I was behind the counter, ringing up a customer, when I glanced up and saw him. Tall, well-dressed, silver at the temples. For a moment, I didn't place him. Then I did. Philip Westwood, my sister's fiancé. The man I'd never met, the man whose refined sensibilities were supposedly too delicate for my yeast-scented presence. He waited until I was done with the customer, then approached. Abigail? That's me. I kept my voice neutral, professional. What can I get you? Actually, I was hoping to talk to you. Do you have a few minutes? I glanced at Louise, who shrugged. The morning rush had ended, and the lunch crowd wouldn't start for another hour. Sure. We sat at one of the small tables by the window. He ordered a coffee black and a croissant. I brought them over and sat across from him. I'm Philip, he said, extending his hand. I shook it. His grip was firm but not aggressive. I know who you are. I figured. He smiled slightly. I wanted to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. I'm sure you have. I read the article in Chicago Quarterly. It was excellent. Thank you. He broke off a piece of croissant, tasted it, nodded appreciatively. This is exceptional. Proper lamination. You don't see that often outside of France. Despite myself, I was pleased. I spent 2 months in lion training. Best 2 months of my life. It shows. He ate another bite, then set the croissant down. I need to tell you something, and I'm not sure how to say it, so I'm just going to say it. I didn't know your mother had uninvited you to Thanksgiving. I felt my spine stiffen. Okay. Meredith told me you couldn't make it. She said you were busy with work. I didn't find out the truth until last week. How did you find out? I overheard your mother talking to a friend at a holiday party. She was saying how difficult you were being, how you'd refused to come to Thanksgiving out of spite. And then she mentioned the comment about he paused, looking uncomfortable, about how you smelled. We sat in silence for a moment. I need you to know that I never said anything about you. I never requested that you not attend. I didn't even know you existed until 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. And when Meredith mentioned she had a sister, I assumed you'd be there. Why are you telling me this? He looked at me directly. Because what your mother did was unconscionable. And because I think you deserve to know the truth about what's been said. Which is, he sighed, your mother told me you were difficult. That you'd always been jealous of Meredith. That you'd refused to help with the engagement party out of spite. And that you'd deliberately skipped Thanksgiving to cause drama. My face felt hot. And you believed her? Not entirely. Something didn't add up. Meredith would talk about you sometimes, usually when she was frustrated about something, and the person she described didn't match the person I was hearing about from your parents. So I did some research. I found your bakery. Read the reviews. Read articles about you. Found the piece about your volunteer work. And then I read the Chicago Quarterly article, and I realized I'd been lied to. By my sister. By your family. I didn't know what to say to that. I'm breaking off the engagement, he said quietly. I stared at him. What? I can't marry someone who treats their own family this way. Who lies this casually? Who? He trailed off. I've been noticing things. Small things. The way she talks to service staff. The way she talks about people when they're not around. I ignored it because she's charming. Because I thought I loved her. But this thing with you, it clarified something. You don't have to do this because of me. I'm not. I'm doing it because of who Meredith is. You just helped me see it clearly. He finished his coffee. I wanted to tell you in person. And I wanted to apologize. I'm sorry I was used as an excuse to hurt you. He stood to leave. Philip. He turned. Thank you, I said, for telling me. He nodded and walked out. I sat there for a long time, staring at the empty chair across from me. The call came 2 days later. Not from my parents. From Meredith. From a number I didn't recognize. She must have called from a friend's phone, or maybe gotten a new number. I almost didn't answer, but I was tired of running, tired of avoiding. So I picked up Abby. She was crying, full on sobbing, the kind of crying that sounds like drowning. He broke up with me. I know. You know? How do you understanding crashed over her? He talked to you. He did. And you didn't tell me? You didn't warn me? Warn you about what, Mayor? That actions have consequences? He said I was cruel. That I treated you horribly. That I was a liar. You are. The words hung there, simple and final. I need you, she said. I need my sister. Mom and Dad are furious with me. They're blaming me for ruining the connection with the Westwood family. They're saying awful things, Abby. I have no one. Something in me softened. Just slightly. Because I knew what it felt like to have them turn on you. To go from golden child to scapegoat in the span of a conversation. I'm sorry you're hurting, I said. And I meant it. I really am. Then help me. Come over. Talk to them. You're good at this. You're good at smoothing things over. Know what? I'm not doing this anymore, Mayor. I'm not going to be the person who fixes your problems and absorbs your blame and makes myself smaller so you can feel big. I'm your sister. You've never acted like it. She was crying harder now. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. I'm sorry I treated you like you didn't matter. Please. I'll change. I'll be better. Maybe you will. I said. I hope you do. But I can't be part of that process. I have to protect myself. Abby, please, I love you. I said, and realized with surprise that it was true. But I can't have you in my life right now. Maybe not ever. I hope you understand. I don't. That's okay. I hung up. This time. I cried. But it was different from the crying I'd done on Thanksgiving. This was grief. Pure and clean. For the sister I'd wanted and never had. For the family I'd deserved and never got. For the girl I'd been, who tried so hard to be enough. I let myself feel it all, and then I let it go. January brought snow and new beginnings. The producer from the Food Network called back. They wanted to feature me in an episode about community-focused businesses. I said yes. A publisher reached out about a cookbook. Nothing fancy, just honest recipes and stories about the connection between food and community. I said yes to that too. Luis announced he'd been accepted to culinary school. Full scholarship. He cried when he told me. And so did I. I'm not leaving the bakery, he said quickly. I can do both. Night classes. You'd better not leave, I said. Who else is going to make terrible jokes at 5 in the morning? Sandra started teaching weekend bread making classes in the bakery. They sold out within hours of posting. People wanted to learn, wanted to connect with their food, wanted their homes to smell like yeast and warmth. The second location opened in March, in a neighborhood that had been a food desert. We kept the prices reasonable, started a program where people could pay what they could afford. Some days we broke even, some days we didn't, but the line was always long, and people kept saying thank you. I stopped checking my blocked contacts to see if my family had tried to reach out. I stopped wondering if they'd seen my success and felt proud. I stopped waiting for their approval. I built my own family instead. Luis and Sandra and Marcus. Sister Margaret and the volunteers at Steedy. Catherine's. The regulars who came in every morning and knew my coffee order. The woman from the bookstore who brought me novels she thought I'd like. The cement truck driver whose daughter, the one with the wheat allergy, started calling me Miss Abby on the 1-year anniversary of that terrible Thanksgiving phone call. I closed the bakery early and took my team out to dinner. We went to a nice restaurant, the kind with cloth napkins and wine lists, and I picked up the whole check. Speech. Louise called out, grinning. Absolutely not. Come on, boss. You're successful now. Successful people give speeches. So I stood up, feeling ridiculous and happy and grateful. A year ago, I said, I thought success meant making people proud of me, making my family see me. I thought if I just worked hard enough, achieved enough, proved myself enough, I'd finally be worth loving. They were all watching me, these people who'd become my chosen family. But I was wrong. Success isn't about proving anything to people who never wanted to see you. It's about building something that matters. It's about showing up for people who show up for you. It's about kneading the dough even when your hands hurt. Because you know someone's going to walk through that door tomorrow morning and say your bread saved their day. I raised my glass. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me build something real with you. We clinked glasses, and in that moment, I felt more successful than any amount of family approval could have ever made me feel. The wedding invitation arrived in May, not to my sister's wedding that had been called off, obviously. This was different. A cream-colored envelope, expensive paper, elegant script. Mr. Philip Westwood requests the pleasure of your company at his wedding to Miss Claire Donovan. There was a note inside. In Philip's handwriting, Abigail, I know this might seem strange, but Claire and I would be honored if you'd attend. She's a social worker who spends her days fighting for kids in the foster system. She believes in the work you do at Steedy Catherine's. We've been together for months, and I've never been more certain of anything. Also, she's obsessed with your cinnamon rolls. No pressure, but if you wanted to make our wedding cake, we'd be thrilled. I laughed out loud. I arved yes, and I made them a wedding cake. 3 tiers of honey lavender cake with chamomile buttercream. Simple, elegant, with fresh flowers from the farmer's market. The wedding was small, maybe 50 people, in a garden in Oak Park. Claire was beautiful in a simple dress, her hair loose and curly. When Philip saw her walking down the aisle, he actually wiped his eyes. During the reception, Claire found me by the dessert table. You're the baker, she said, smiling. The famous Abigail. I don't know about famous. Philip says you changed his life. I think he's giving me too much credit. He says you showed him what integrity looks like. That you helped him understand the difference between who someone presents themselves to be and who they actually are. She squeezed my hand. Thank you. I know that probably cost you. It cost me a family I never really had, I said. But I gained something better. Myself. She hugged me. This woman I'd just met. And it felt like blessing. My mother called in July. Not from a blocked number. I'd unblocked them all months ago. Once I realized I didn't care anymore if they called. She left a voicemail. Abigail. It's your mother. I wanted to talk to you. I saw the feature on the Food Network. You looked so professional. So successful. I told all my friends. Everyone was very impressed. A long pause. I thought maybe we could have lunch. Catch up. There are things I'd like to say. Please call me back. I listened to it 3 times. I thought about all the things I'd wanted to hear from her over the years. I'm proud of you. You were right. I'm sorry, but those words weren't in her message. What was there was I told all my friends. Translation. Your success reflects well on me now. I deleted the voicemail. 3 days later, my father called. He left a message too. Hey kiddo, Dad here. Listen, I know things have been complicated, but you're still my daughter. I'd like to see you. Maybe come by the house? Your mother's been cooking. We could talk. I imagined it. Walking into that house, sitting at that table. Them asking about the bakery, about the article, about my success. Bragging to their friends. Never once apologizing for the Thanksgiving that had broken something fundamental. Never once acknowledging what they'd done. I deleted that voicemail too. But Meredith's call. When it came in August, I answered. Don't hang up, she said immediately. Please. I'm listening. I'm in therapy. I said nothing. I've been going twice a week since February. It's hard, Abby. Really hard. My therapist keeps asking me about my childhood, about my relationship with mom and dad, about you, about how I treated you. Okay. I'm starting to understand things. Like how I was rewarded for being cruel to you. How mom would laugh when I made fun of you. How dad would tell me I was the pretty one, the fun one, and you were just the serious one. How they pitted us against each other. My throat felt tight. I was jealous of you, she continued. God, I was so jealous. You were smart and talented and you built something real. And all I had was being pretty, being charming, being the favorite. And when you started succeeding without them, without us, I couldn't handle it. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm trying to be honest. For the first time in my life, I'm trying to actually be honest. She took a shaky breath. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve your forgiveness. But I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm sorry. I believed her. That was the thing that surprised me most. I actually believed her. Thank you for telling me, I said. That's it. What else do you want me to say? I don't know. That you'll give me another chance? That we can rebuild our relationship? I thought about it carefully. Maybe someday. But not now. I'm still healing. And you're still figuring yourself out. We both need space. How much space? I don't know. Maybe a year. Maybe 5 years. Maybe forever. She was quiet for a long time. That's fair. Good luck with therapy, Mare. I mean it, Abby. Yeah. I really am proud of you. I know I never said it before, but your bakery is incredible. You're incredible. I should have told you that years ago, after we hung up. I sat with it. The apology I'd waited years for had finally come, and it felt anticlimactic. Not because it wasn't sincere, but because I'd already moved on. I'd already built a life that didn't need their validation. September brought my 34th birthday. Luis and Sandra threw me a surprise party at the bakery after closing. They'd made a cake, a slightly lopsided chocolate monstrosity with Boss Lady written in wobbly icing. It was perfect. Sister Margaret came. So did Daniel, the cement truck driver, and his daughter Emma, who was 10 now and wanted to be a baker when she grew up. Margaret from the bookstore brought me a first edition of The Art of French Baking that must have cost a fortune. We ate cake and drank cheap champagne, and someone put on music. And Luis tried to teach Sandra how to salsa dance. I took a picture of the whole ridiculous scene and realized this was what happiness looked like. No fancy restaurant. No crystal stemware. No perfectly arranged centerpiece. Just people who saw me. People who chose me. People who showed up. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I made myself tea and sat by the window. The city lights sparkled below, and I thought about the girl I'd been a year ago. The one who'd answered that 4:47 a.m. phone call and had her world quietly dismantled. If I could go back and tell her anything, it would be this. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to build something beautiful from the rubble. You're going to learn that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's flour-dusted hens reaching for yours in a kitchen at dawn. Sometimes it's an old man telling you your cinnamon rolls are the best thing he eats all week. Sometimes it's a 19-year-old kid making terrible jokes and calling you boss lady with genuine affection. You're going to learn that success isn't about making people proud. It's about being proud of yourself. You're going to learn that the smell of yeast and flour isn't something to be ashamed of. It's the smell of honest work, of nourishment, of love made tangible. You're going to learn that walking away from people who hurt you isn't cruel. It's survival. It's self-respect. It's the bravest thing you'll ever do. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi Abigail, this is Claire Phillips' wife. We're hosting a small dinner party next month and would love for you to join us if you're free. Also, I volunteer at a youth center and some of the kids want to learn baking. Any chance you'd be interested in teaching a class? No pressure either way. Hope you're well. See, I smiled and typed back. I'd love to. Both the dinner and the class. Thank you for thinking of me. Real family. I was learning. Wasn't about shared DNA. It was about shared values. Shared respect. showing up for each other in the small, consistent ways that build trust over time. Outside my window, the city hummed with life. Somewhere out there, people were gathering around tables, breaking bread together, nourishing each other. And tomorrow morning at 3:15 a.m., I'd wake up and do my part to feed them, not because I had something to prove, not because I needed validation, but because I'd learned what I was really hungry for all along, and it had nothing to do with my parents' approval or my sister's recognition or a seat at a Thanksgiving table where I was never truly welcome. What I'd been hungry for was this: the quiet dignity of meaningful work, the simple joy of making something with my hands, the profound satisfaction of feeding people body and soul. I'd been starving in a house full of food, trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it freely. Now I was full. Finally, completely full. I finished my tea, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Tomorrow, there would be dough to knead, loaves to shape, people to feed, and that was enough. That was everything.